Rosbifs Rugby Top 14 Team Guide for La Rochelle. Yes, as you may have guessed, we are looking at La Rochelle from me wearing this silly foulard. La Rochelle, a bit of an interesting one in terms of Rosbifs. I've got the foulard from seeing them. This is actually a 1-star, so this was the year before they won the second time, the Champions Cup the second time. We have seen them play, but it was in Bordeaux, and then weirdly enough, we flew back from La Rochelle, which is 2 hours on the train. I think there might be a little bit quicker one, but we flew back from La Rochelle. So we've passed through. We have seen them play a home game, albeit a Champions Cup semi-final that was a kind of home country game. But the Stade Marcel de Flandre remains very elusive. It is still so hard to get tickets for. It is the holy grail of French rugby fans and experiences. Like, everyone that watches French rugby and anyone that's seen them in the Champions Cup will know that they undoubtedly wants to get there for a game. Also really cool, one of our friends that has managed to get there, there's La Rochelle branding on pretty much everything in the stadium. We're talking Stade Rochelais pate, Stade Rochelais crackers, all that stuff. So they're quite cool in that respect. So even more reason to get there if you can. Sells out in seconds. It's so hard to get tips. We'd love to give you tips on how to get them. We would like to succeed first in doing it ourselves. We've done it pretty much everywhere else, but La Rochelle is the one that remains elusive. And where are La Rochelle? Well, as a team, generally I'd say that personally I've been pretty negative about them over the last couple of seasons, and last season generally thought they were crap. They missed out on the barrage. They finished 7th. They were nearly, at one point they were looking at potential relegation. They went over 100 days without a win in all competitions. Their away form has been dreadful for about 2 or 3 years now. And yet it feels all changed. A lot of this kind of previews that we've been doing are based on last year's performances and last year's kind of games and what we saw with our eyes. But it feels for La Rochelle that it's going to be such a different season. They clearly, to pretty much everyone that watched them and was following the top 14, clearly needed some new blood and some young blood. It's an old side. It's stayed together for a long, long time. Some of them are still there. Winnie Antonio is still there, being the beating heart of Mr. La Rochelle, or the King of La Rochelle, I think they call him. Greg Aldrit, who is a lot younger still than people might think, but he's still there, a key part of it. But that's a club that's grown together and started to need refreshing. They have now got that. So they've kind of lost to Warwick Barlow, who is their talisman really, and the beating heart of their side. Brice Dulin has retired. He was obviously an experienced campaigner. When he was good, they played brilliantly. Two guys that when they played well, chances were Kerr Barlow and Dulin were at the heart of it. They've also lost Teddy Thomas, who played really well last season. Georges-Henri Colombe, who I think got a bit of a bad rep at La Rochelle. Rog didn't say some very nice things about him. So they've not mass offloaded some of these players. You can see there in the key players and the unsung heroes, there's still guys that are relatively old. Skelton is relatively old. Dylan Lades is these guys are largely over 30. I think Paul Boudon isn't. He's still 24, 25, and he was brilliant last season. Just upped his game after a bit of an injury and came back aggressive, both sides of the ball. Scored quite a few tries as well. Probably the premier back row in France last year by the end of the season. Pierre Bougarit again I think they struggled partly because he wasn't available. The line out has been pretty disastrous over the last couple of years. That's not saying that Pierre Bougarit is flawless, but just such a talisman for that team. The energy he gives them around the park. He's struggled with injuries, some really nasty injuries over the last couple of years. For him to be back was a key thing. Skelton, we saw in the Lions tour how good a player he still is. He was still really good last season. He has that tendency to kind of start scraps and just piss people off, and he's not got a bad disciplinary record in terms of cards, but he was perhaps distracted from some of his best play by some of that last year. But you saw in the Lions tour, when he's at his best and when he's at his niggly best, he's fantastic. The fact that he's been called back by La Rochelle from the Rugby Championship tells you his importance to that side. alongside him, Thomas Lavelle, we've got in there as the unsung hero. Plays loads of games. I don't think he's the most physical. I don't think he's the fact the line out struggles. You could probably pin a little bit on him, but a guy that does a lot of the dirty work and definitely an unheralded name in that. But we've got to talk about these signings because they're signings probably the best, like the two best signings of the top 14 this season, we reckon, because David Iniashvili would have been on everyone's shopping list. Like, if people knew he was available, every club in the top 14 would have wanted David Iniashvili. Still only 21, 22, capable of some freakish things on a rugby field, like a viral sensation at almost every week, it felt like. He's played 10 for Georgia, for God's sake, despite being a winger or fullback. Just, yeah, he does have a rash moment in him, but just loves to attack. Such a thrilling player to watch. If they wanted pace and energy and youth, that is the player they should have signed. So the perfect signing for La Rochelle. Another perfect signing for this La Rochelle side, Nolan Le Garrec, who, yes, has perhaps not quite nailed it at international level, but top 14 level, a fantastic player. He was the key part of pretty much everything that Racing 92 did last season. He and the season before that, like they were so reliant on him for individual spark. And he's capable of that. He's capable of some really magical things. And consistent performer, good goal kicker, which I think at times La Rochelle could do with as well. So, like, two fantastic players at the top 14 level, young talents who... So those four signings we've got there, they're all under 24. I think Le Garrec is the oldest at 20... No, all under 23. Le Garrec is the oldest at 23. Another one, Semi Langavala, that we wanted to highlight. One of the players to watch for us this season. Fantastic signing again. 22-year-old Fijian, quite similar to Sorelli Mangala. Like, when I saw him away down in Mont-de-Marsan when they played Dax, he was the best player on the park till he went off injured. Like, both sides of the ball, deceptively physical, good turnovers, great feet, great offloading game. Really excited to see him in the top 14. And the other one, Ugo Pacom, another one that a lot of teams in the top 14 would have been looking at, seeing him do well at Colomiers. Feels like a bit of a Rolls-Royce fullback. I'm yet to see him, like, really... I've not been fully blown away by him yet, but I can see why he's getting hype from his time with France under 20s and with Colomiers. But again, another signing that the rest of the top 14 would have been really envious of. I want to highlight a few of these young players because the senior squad at La Rochelle feels very, very thin. There is not a lot of depth, and the fact that they will lose half their first choice pack in Antonio, probably Borgerit, Boudon, Jegu, Aldrit. Those guys are going to be away with France for possibly even Red Wardy as well for when there's international games on. So the fact that they've got a thin squad and they will lose players for the internationals, autumn internationals, they're probably going to lose Will Skelton as well. They're going to have to rely on some of these youngsters. Some of them got some game time and found it pretty tough last year. But the ones I wanted to highlight, Gael Galvin, if you watch the under-20s, Argentina came third, their joint best finish in the under-20s World Championship. He is enormous. He's got such big thighs. I think he's registered at 150 kilos for a 20-year-old tie head prop. The next one in the La Rochelle production line. They've got rid of Georges-Henri Colombe. He's not heavy enough. They've brought in a massive Argentinian. And two guys for France that impressed a lot. So Meli Danavuku did a lot of bit of captaincy for France under 20s over the summer. He actually was involved in and I think he was the winner of own try of the season, the Rosbifs Rugby own try of the season for fairly calamitous play behind his own goal line away at Lyon last year. He's raw. For a long time I was very skeptical about why he was getting picked and had so much hype around him, because he was quite error prone as well as being kind of really obviously really dynamic. 20-year-old centre. I saw during the under-20s a little bit more of a rounded game from him, a little bit more kicking, a little bit more organisation, a little bit more leadership. If he can translate that and continue to fulfil that kind of raw ingredients of his big Fijian body, he's going to be a really exciting one. But Diego Jourde, another one that I'm so impressed with him. He's not missed a single kick for France under-20s, and he seems to kick them all from out wide. Like, they all seem to be from out wide, but he's got a really good running game, looks to attack as well. So they've got Ehai West, they've got Antoine Hastoy. So I think now that Royce is gone, he's going to be the third choice fly half. We may see someone like a Dylan Lades or Sateni drop in, as we saw last season. It may even be Nolan Lagarek at times. Hopefully they will get some game time into Diego Jordan because he is such a good player. Can't wait to see him grow and develop. How will they play? Well, you'd think the power game is going to be there. As I mentioned, they might struggle to play a power game during the international series. That's why I've got them in third. Rich thinks they've signed really well. We have got them as back in a top four, as it were. They've got that much needed injection of youth and pace. We are pretty positive about La Rochelle's chances this season. Rog is going to be the same character. I find him fascinating. Let us know what you think about La Rochelle, because I feel like the English perception of La Rochelle is higher than perhaps the French perception, because we see them in the Champions Cup where they've generally done pretty well. In France, they have been pretty poor over the last few seasons. So get in touch with your thoughts in the comments section. If you found this video interesting and informative, please subscribe and give us a like. And look out for the next, or the whole playlist of Top 14 team guides. Thanks for watching.